think what we're walking in today, I would advocate you can trace back to a moment in time. And that moment in time for so many people was when Kim Walker did How He Loves. So when she did that cover of the John Mark McMillan song How He Loves on that album, it was this amazing convergence of time where you have this literally unknown band. It's a youth group band doing cover songs, not tied to a major record label at all. So, they did not have the promotion of the world or the budget, but they did have the authenticity, the anointing, and the favor of God colliding with this new thing called viral, going viral.
Yeah, sure.
And so you have these people that are in the youth group band of this church in the middle of nowhere, Northern California. But because of just the anointing and their sincerity, the Lord promoted them and used this medium called YouTube and this concept of going viral, and this moment where she steps out into this spontaneous moment and begins to encourage and exhort, and you just felt like, whoa. Yeah, you go back and listen to that track, How He Loves Again, and tell me you still don't feel the anointing on that moment. And then that circled the globe, and then people started asking this question: what is Jesus culture? Like they're not tied to a record label. They're what do you mean they're a youth group band?
Yeah,
a youth group band doing cover songs, not even originals. They're doing cover songs of this church. Well, who's this church? Bethel music is such a juggernaut now. No one knew who they were.
Sure.
No one knew who Bethel Church was. I mean, there were definitely people who knew where they were.
Yeah.
I don't mean it in a derogatory sense.
No, just one of those things.
But it was one of those things where like Jesus culture kind of highlighted, because the only reason Jesus culture was who they were was because of the ministry that was coming out of Bethel Church. But they just happened to become more mainstream, which then shifted a spotlight onto what God was already doing in their community.
Yeah.
And so, but it was that moment, and people felt this. Not only was it an amazing spiritual moment, let's set the record straight too. Kim is a phenomenal vocalist.
Oh,
like
totally.
One of
very
the
distinct,
best.
Very distinct voice.
Oh yeah. She's not trying to sound like anyone else.
You can have a track, even if she's just featured on it.
You know it,
and you'll know. Oh, that's
and you'll feel the shift. You're like, whoa, what just happened? Something happened. And I was just in an event with her a couple months back, and honestly, dude, she still got it, and it's amazing, dude. I just love being in a worship environment where she's a part of it, because it's still just so fantastic. But the word I think you kind of were circling it, that I think is appropriate for us, is permission. I think her and Bethel's investment in the Jesus culture youth and young adults group and movement gave them permission and empowered them to be They empowered them to be powerful, and so they were just being authentically who they were. Someone just put a camera on them, and it circled the globe, and it gave other people permission to be powerful. And so I really do feel like she had a huge part in cracking it open. So a lot of what we're walking in now, with like things like Upper Room and Maverick City and Elevation, all these guys that are kind of now have become more of the mainstream now. They're really riding a wave that was, and just like waves, right? There are multiple waves in the ocean. There's you're constantly getting hit with a new wave.
Yep.
And so Bethel or Jesus culture was riding, some of the previous generation's waves. And so, but I just wanted to honor Kim in that way, because I think she was really a pioneer in that way for this new generation. But there was pioneers for her to operate in that way. And I don't know if you follow how much you're following Kim, but I would encourage you and your listeners to follow what her and her husband Skylar are doing now up in Montana. I mean, they're really trying to shift some of the narrative of the the worship movement, because I think they, and along with perhaps people like Jeremy Riddle and Stephanie Gretzinger, have began to see that, yes, we have a lot of blessing right now in quote-unquote Christian music, and that we have so much more than when you and I were growing up, and like so much more expression, so much more accessibility in that way. But I think her and her husband, guys like Jeremy Riddle, Stephanie Gretzinger, a couple of mentors of mine like Jose and Dana Diaz, have really been championing this thought that worship is not a industry, it's a priesthood.
Yeah.
And that's perhaps the thing that I think with this current emerging move that we need to be mindful of.
Yep.
Is, yes, we have a lot of favor. Yes, we have more accessibility, but we can't forget that worship is first and foremost a priesthood that ministers to the presence of God and ministers to the people of God.